me your mouth, better add your respect. Otherwise, pressure gon' be at your neck when I burn you like. This ain't a game, my aim is the throne. I'm much higher than you, like a rocket, a drone. I'm powerful, think of a stone. Throw it off of my brain and I'm bad to the bone.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the KDL. We just finished match number 1 with the KWANGDONGFREECS versus FINALEe-sports, and now it's time to move on to the second team match of the night, Liiv SANDBOX versus Team Always.
Liiv SANDBOX is a team that has had so much success in the original Kart Rider League, but now moving on into the Kart Rider Drift League, they haven't been able to win any of the preseason. So they're really looking to take that momentum back here in the official season, but it's been a rough start for them. They're currently sitting 1-2 in overall match history.
Yeah, but let's not forget that for Liiv SANDBOX, they have had arguably the most difficult start to the season of any of the teams right now, right? They had to go against the KWANGDONGFREECS, they had to go against Miri and Sejong, if I'm not mistaken, which are two teams that are almost certainly going to be shoo-ins for the playoffs. So while it is concerning that Liiv SANDBOX were not able to take those games, I think that the schedule's going to get easier for them. And even starting off here today against Team Always, this is a little bit of a mismatch because Always, up until this point, they are winless in team speed mode. And Liiv SANDBOX, they're absolutely masters of speed. Diamond, the speed ace here on this rookie team entering the stage, it has really been the lone shining beacon for this team when it comes to ace matches, when it comes to team speed. He's very often near the top of the ranks, actually one of the best individual performing racers in team speed mode, but you know, the rear for players like Knight, like Ming, like Move, trying to come up and shore up the defense for Diamond has been lacking. So I'm wondering if Always coming into this one is going to shake things up a little bit in terms of their game plan, or if Liiv SANDBOX, after, as you said, coming into this one with 1 win and 2 losses, is going to be revitalized and out for revenge. As they say themselves, it is time to showcase the power of the two-Sue duo.
Yeah, that's kind of been the nickname for Liiv SANDBOX before, with Hyunsu and another player that went over to the military. He is no longer a part of the team, but we got a new Sue duo now.
Ooh, furious fun, let's go. I like that energy here for Liiv SANDBOX. Like they aren't feeling too deterred from those couple of losses, as I still really think that Liiv SANDBOX, despite only being 1 and 2 right now in the standings, are going to be a top 3, a top 4 team heading into the postseason almost no matter what.
Yeah, that's definitely what we expect from a team like Liiv SANDBOX with such a storied career. But for Team Always, a rookie team coming in, to be able to take a win against Liiv SANDBOX today would certainly help out their chances for making it to the postseason. And as we take a look at the speed average ranks, they have really struggled in speed, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, Diamond, it says a lot that he's averaging 18th, which is pretty much about the middle of the pack. I think we have, if I'm not mistaken, 33 individual racers that have competed in team speed thus far this season. I might be off by a couple, but 18, it's pretty middle of the road. And the fact that pretty much everybody else on the team speed roster here for Team Always is effectively at the bottom of those standings, you know, it's tough. We talk a lot about how hard it is to play a 1v2 or a 1v3 in those pole positions. And Diamond has kind of been on his own in those battles from start to finish so far this season. But Always here, they are taking speed priority here against Liiv SANDBOX, so they will be able to choose 3 out of the 5 maps. And maybe being able to choose more maps here in speed mode, they might have a chance against Liiv SANDBOX. But again, they are undefeated so far in tracks and speed.
Certainly, and Liiv SANDBOX also agrees with that statistic there, State, because Liiv SANDBOX, they won the coin flip, but they chose item priority, which is so strange to me because a lot of our professional teams always choose speed priority, but they're really confident in winning speed against Always, it seems, giving them 3 tracks over the usual 2, and Liiv SANDBOX, they really just want to make sure they don't lose an item today, so they play out in the ace match.
I actually think it's a genius move by Liiv SANDBOX to choose item priority, but we'll talk about that more as we get ready to go into track number 1 here between LSB and Team Always. It's going to be on World Tour Miami Drive. And off we go once again on the streets of Miami. Team Always still winless in speed mode, going up against one of historically the best speed mode teams in the world in Team Liiv SANDBOX.
But as we take a look at the standings, oh, some big collisions there for Liiv SANDBOX, it seems. So now Byung-Soo and Hyun-Soo are going to be set behind, but Move is so far behind, even 6-7. That is concerning for Team Always.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened there for Move to have him fall all the way down to 8th place, but it's not the end of the world. Even though he's pretty much out of the picture right now, he can focus on just building up the nitro gauges. You know, as you fill those gauges, you have 2 of them here in Team Speed. One of them is just the gauge yourself to pop out individual nitros, and then there's the Team Speed gauge, which turns your red nitros into blue nitros. They last a little bit longer, so Move going to be playing a bit more of a support role. And once again, kind of the same story as a lot of Always matches earlier in the season. It's Diamond playing basically a 1v2 here against Neil and Jimin, waiting for the cavalry to come in. And this time, Ming, he is a lot closer here on the second lap, but ALS, they have to break up this 1-2 if they want to win this track.
It certainly seems like all is up for Diamond to break apart this 1-2 from Liiv SANDBOX, but with the support coming in from Byung-Soo at this point, it is going to be really hard for Diamond to 1v3 this.
Yeah, and I'm actually really surprised to see Byung-Soo right now in 4th position, as he had that terrible collision to start off the track, and he's already back in top 4. So Diamond basically playing a 1 versus 3 right now. Byung-Soo can fully commit to the sweeping role here if he so chooses.
A nice attempt from Diamond there to break apart the 1-2, but Jimin's gonna easily be able to have a response to that. Ming coming in, however, is good news for Always. They need to first break apart this 1-2 though.
Yeah, Ming doing a good job of coming back into this one, but Jimin and Neil starting to really run away with this thing. Only 500 meters left to go. Ah, Ming, he went for the greedy line because he knew he kind of had to make a Hail Mary play to close the distance with so much of the track gone behind him. Instead, it's going to be Liiv SANDBOX and Neil and Jimin securing those 1-2 spots as ALS remains unwind. I almost said unwind. They remain unwind in solo, or Team Speed, excuse me. Liiv SANDBOX showing why they chose item priority, because I think for LSB right now, as long as they can avoid losing item mode against a team like Team Always, they're not going to have to go into an ace match. I think that Always finding some way to close the distance in terms of skill and win speed mode here against LSB would be, frankly, probably the biggest upset of the season thus far, if I'm just being completely honest with you guys. I don't mean to kill the hype here in Team Speed, but LSB, historically, one of the best speed teams in the business, and Team Always has been really struggling to find their footing thus far, but that track number 1 was a little bit better. I loved seeing Ming there, kind of shoring up the defense there right behind Diamond, was lending some of his support. It didn't actually net too much there for Team Always, but so often the story has just been Diamond, the lone racer in the front of the pack, playing a 1v2, a 1v3 to try to keep Team Always into this. If Ming can come again in track number 2 and continue to lend some support, maybe Always has a shot to take a couple of tracks.
Yeah, just like you said, Diamond has been huge for Team Always, so their game plan may be to get to that ace match so they can have Diamond have a 1v1 moment like he did against Team Mira and Sejong. It was Guard playing against Diamond, and Diamond was actually able to win that ace match, which gave the 1-point win over to Always. And given that Liiv SANDBOX, they prioritize items, but they're winning in speed as well, it makes it kind of unlikely that we will have that ace match today. As we get now ready to move into round number 2 of speed, it is Liiv SANDBOX's choice in World Tour Terracotta Twister. we boost off into the race. It is no surprise that our experienced veteran teams love having tracks like Terracotta Twister. It is a always go-to track for them, it seems, as we see Liiv SANDBOX. They're really controlling that 2-3-4 here.
It feels like almost every single time we have a pro team facing off against a rookie team or an amateur team like Team Always, they love to go to Terracotta Twister if the bat pool allows for it. It can be very technical, not just these tight turns coming in right here, but this tomb section, the sweeping plays that you can make in, the greedy lines that you can go for. Is Diamond actually really showcasing some of his individual skill? I love that jump move, basically.
That was sick.
He almost even knocked Neil, and Byung-Soo fell off the track. Diamond just single-handedly basically unseated Liiv SANDBOX from a dominating position. This is why this guy is the speed ace of Team Always, as he's kind of a one-man show, and he's basically putting Always up in the best spot they've been in Team Speed, and I don't even know how long.
Yeah, I've seen many different ways our teams have tried to attack each other in that Terracotta section, but Diamond just showcased something completely on his own league, and you can see he's racing off in that first place with such a phenomenal lead. The only problem is there's no backup for him, so Ming, Knight, and Move, they need to catch up and put some pressure on Hyunsoo, Neil, and Jimin.
Yeah, even if Diamond is able to lock down this one rank position, which, you know, time will tell whether he's able to do it, 2-3-4 is still a win condition here in Team Speed, and right now Hyunsoo, Neil, and Jimin are holding on to that, so Ming is going to need to fight back, and indeed he does, actually moving all the way to the third rank. Knight actually right behind him too. It's very close behind Diamond, as Hyunsoo's going to try and take position one back for Liiv SANDBOX. He might be able to do it here in the air line, but Diamond, he blocks him out and Always might have just enough points to take their first track win here in Team Speed, and finally they do it, tying it up 1-1 against Liiv SANDBOX. And that was a highlight reel play from Diamond coming in. Honestly, one of the most impressive lines I've ever seen on Terracotta Twister on lap number 1. That was so incredible. He completely hamstringed the offense for Liiv SANDBOX. And credit to the rest of Team Always as well. They pounced on that opportunity and they get their first win.
We officially have, I believe, what we can call the Diamond build.
And yeah, the Diamond build. Yeah, I like that.
He completely carried Team Always here, and this is going to be actually their first ever round win in Speed.
I mean, coming into this one, Team Always, because Diamond was able to win in an ace match earlier in the season after they won in item mode, is, okay, hold that thought, actually. I want to see this again, as he jumped, and the blocks here are insane. Look at how aggressively he's fighting against Neil. Byung-Soo also trying to take a line. We can see exactly what he goes for right there, as he just got zoned out by everybody else. So not only was Neil getting basically bullied, and how often do we see Neil get bullied? He's one of the best individually talented racers we have in Car Riders history.
Yeah.
He gets bullied by Diamond. He loses all momentum in his line. He has to effectively reset. And on top of it, Byung-Soo, the speed ace on this team, just gets completely flattered. He falls off into the tomb section. I mean, that was just an incredible race. And let's not forget, Terracotta Twister, it's often the pick by pro teams against amateur teams because of these skill checks. And in kind of a turn of events, it was Diamond skill checking LSB. That was so cool.
It's certainly exciting to see that we have so much new talent coming into KDL, and they're performing at a level able to stomp Liiv SANDBOX out in the speed. The only unconventional thing about this round was that usually our teams love ending the race with the 1-2, but Diamond didn't have that. It was all up to his team catching up so that they have the position, able to win in the end, which they did. And we'll see if Team Always, they're able to pull off another upset here in Speed as we move into round 3 in Mine Winding Slopes.
All eyes on Team Always Diamond, as he just single-handedly, it felt like, delivered a victory there. The first Team Speed mode win for Team ALS, but now coming into Winding Slopes. This is another one of these very technical tracks in terms of lines, and ALS, I feel like they have a little bit of momentum right now coming off that win. Ming and Knight are racing really well. Diamond actually is the racer all the way down to the 6th rank here for Team Always, and if he can start to run his way back up into the front, they can really make some plays, but oh my goodness, the sweeping there from Byung-Soo.
It was phenomenal as we see Liiv SANDBOX continue to secure this 1-2 in such a way that Team Always, if you look at the minimap, they're all being held by just Hyunsu. Hyunsu is making the 1v3 happen, and Diamond also takes a huge collision for himself.
This minimap is one of the saddest minimaps I have ever seen. Look at the 1-2-3 for Team LSB as we had a variety of collisions there for Team Always. I mean, Byung-Soo with some really fantastic sweeping there on that first bridge was just so critical, and now Hyunsu just trying to do everything in his power to slow down Team Diamond, as I think we're pretty much guaranteed LSB is going to have a 1-2, if not a 1-2-3 finish, as Always just was really, really blasted there to start things out. Diamond's still going to be able to find his way into a top 4, but this race was over basically right from the get-go. That was kind of crazy there for Liiv SANDBOX. They kind of make a statement after losing track number 2 there to Team Always, where they're like, okay, that is not going to happen again. And Byung-Soo, man, I would love to see a replay of that shot on that first bridge, because I'm pretty sure the line that he took, the sweeping that he did, the body checks, thwarted 2 players on Team Always, if I'm not mistaken, just completely sapped them of all momentum. Ming didn't even finish the race.
That's how behind he was. Byung-Soo and Hyunsu, they both took turns playing that sweeping role perfectly, which is why we pointed out this new Su duo, given that Insu went to military, and I feel like they are definitely continuing on that Su duo legacy really well here.
Yeah, Byung-Soo, formerly known as Speed, coming in here for Liiv SANDBOX and adopting his name.
That might be why.
ID, Byung-Soo. Yeah, might be why. He wants to keep the Su duo going.
Yeah.
You know, that could be it. It's been a winning formula for LSB thus far, as they are now on match point. 1 track win away from winning Team Speed here against Always, as we move on to Glacier Extreme Stadium.
We get into the race for our speed round 4. This is match point for Liiv SANDBOX, and our camera is really focused on Liiv SANDBOX there because Move, he took such a big collision that I wonder how he's going to recover now.
Yeah, that was kind of insane how hard Move got hung up on that wall. For a moment, I thought we might have a tech pause. I thought that something might be wrong with his keyboard. Given the angle, I was looking at the memo pad like, wait, is something wrong here? But no, just instead, that collision was massive there for Team Always, as Liiv SANDBOX is taking a fantastic lead right now. It's once again Neil, Byung-Soo, and Hyunsu kind of running away with this thing very early on.
That is what's happening here, sadly. Diamond, however, is doing great as always. He's always up here for Team Always to try to contest that 1-2, but without any meaningful support, then what? What if Diamond takes first place? But then what? You're still losing in terms of team placements.
Yeah, first place is not a win condition. 1-2 is 2-3-4-R, but not just position 1 in and of itself. And I believe we even had some races here in Team Speed for Team Always where Diamond was able to get that first place position, but the lower ranks for Always just were never able to catch up and take the midfield with enough points to win the game. And so once again, it's Diamond basically playing, in this case, it's a 1v2 for him, trying to pass Hyunsu and Jimin to get in. And Knight, give him credit, man. He's trying his best to fight back, but Neil and Byung-Soo are just running away with this thing.
Yeah, and I actually believe that Diamond is playing the most optimal strategy right now. There's no point in trying to break the 1-2. His role was to slow down the 3-4 from Liiv SANDBOX so his teammates can catch up, but that certainly hasn't happened, and we're almost done with the race.
I mean, it's an impossible situation here for Team ALS with Diamond alone there at the helm for such a long time. Yeah, one player does get zoned out right there, but even for Diamond, if he tries to block out positions 3 and 4 and allow the rest of his team to catch up, then still 1-2 is a win condition. So he has to not only do that, but then also somehow disrupt the 1-2 later on. It's just an untenable position as Liiv SANDBOX, despite dropping 1 track here to Team Always, they do bounce back in really dominating fashion and will take the 3-1 lead, actually setting 2 individual records. On the previous track, it was Neil with a record, and here on Glacier Extreme Stadium, 146, it's gonna be Byung-Soo.
That is what happened here as Liiv SANDBOX. They do take the speed set win over Team Always, and you can see really the difference that having pressure put on you as you play the kart rider has, because Liiv SANDBOX today, they were able to set so many new records, and I believe that's due to the fact that they're 1-2 the whole time, just had a casual team trial speed mode or something, because no one was contesting their lines.
It's like playing time trial, but you can draft off of your teammates. So you're even faster than a regular time trial, and you have those nitro gauges filling up as rapidly as possible as we have some swaps coming in. Diamond, the speed ace here, will be swapped out for Node on Team Always. And, you know, two Team Always credits. They haven't been able to win in speed, but in item mode, they're actually not doing that bad. They're basically 50-50 in terms of rounds. Liiv SANDBOX, they're also basically 50-50 in terms of rounds thus far, and the only real win condition for Always thus far has been to, lose speed, fight back in item mode, and then bring out Diamond as your ace.
Yeah.
Fresh and ready to go in a 1v1 to decide it all. That's going to be the win condition. Liiv SANDBOX, of course, going for the same thing. Neil is a speed specialist. He will be swapped in for the item ace Dalda. And we'll see how they do, because, with Dalda as an addition to this roster on Liiv SANDBOX, I was thinking they were going to be a lot more dominant here in team item mode, but it's been a shakeup again in the meta, the same way from preseason 1 to preseason 2. We had a meta shakeup from preseason 2 now into the regular season with the new patch with 3-star difficulty tracks, the higher gear usage with heroic tiers. It's much faster paced, and we'll see how these teams adjust. Of course, Liiv SANDBOX, they won the coin toss. They took item mode priority, so they identify that this is the one weakness they might have against Team Always, and we'll see if they're able to come through the win.
And both teams here today are so desperate for that win, as they sit right now with just a 1 win and 2 loss record. So Liiv SANDBOX are trying to secure this item mode here in round 1 in Graveyard Dark Castle. And we begin our item round 1. It is going to be a 2-star difficulty track, so we are sticking to our good old combos.
Yeah, I love having all these graveyard maps come out here in item mode right before Halloween. It's the perfect time of the year for it. Very seasonal. I love these updates coming in from the kart rider development team. It's always so top tier. Is Node going to be able to take... Oh, for a moment, I thought he was going to be taking the lead, but actually we have Dalda really running away with this one, at least for a moment.
Yeah. In
terms of tempo, man. That's kind of crazy. This is one of the longer tracks that we have, and if Dalda can continue to race like this, he does have a double shield. Hyunsu, and Jimin just have to focus on delivering attacks to the racers on ALS just like that.
Certainly is the case, as Node, he picks up a Water Wisp, but he doesn't see Dalda anywhere within range to actually target him. Now it is going to get popped, the shield from Dalda, that is. And now he picked up 2 more shields, quickly shuffled through. Dalda looks unstoppable currently.
Yeah, Dalda even slowing down, I believe, off screen to pick up double shield again from the item. So really only a UFO can slow him down right now. And you can see the inventories for basically everybody else in this lobby. They're just trying to cycle through as fast as they can. ALS is cycling through, trying to catch up to Dalda, and LSB is cycling through, trying to stop them from doing so. As looking at the mini-map, there is so much distance between Dalda and the upcoming racers. No UFOs have come through yet for Team ALS. 1.6 seconds behind the lead racer right now on the final lap.
That's going to be a big gap to try to fill, just as you put it, State. UFO might be the only hope for Always, because Dalda, he doesn't have a EMP, but nothing is happening for Dalda here, and he just continues to stroll in this first place.
Okay, UFO is eventually going to be able to catch him, I believe, as Node was able to find one of those UFOs. That will slow down Dalda a bit, but is it enough? Is still, look at the minimap. He's 200 meters away from the finish line. He is just seconds ahead of everybody else. An Angel Shield is popping for good measure. And LSB, from the very beginning, just running away with his tempo play on a longer item track. This is something that we see a lot more now in the regular season compared to the preseasons because of the heroic tiers. And that absolutely worked to perfection for Liiv SANDBOX.
It certainly did. And honestly, in speed, sure, we can see these gaps really happen more often than not, but when it comes to item mode, no matter how big of a gap a player may build, usually teams are able to catch up because there's so many different ways you can achieve that. There's magnets, UFOs, but it feels like even in team item mode, Team Always is really struggling to match up to Liiv SANDBOX. I mean, Liiv SANDBOX is a giant here in KDL, but there's a big gap in the skills that I'm seeing today.
Yeah, Liiv SANDBOX is absolutely dominating, but always their bread and butter has been item mode to force ace matches. We'll see if they can do it again by tying this series up 1-1 as we move on to a World Tour London night. Another 2-star difficulty track coming at you here, so we will not be seeing sirens or any big bananas in this one. And I feel like in terms of gameplay on this one, probably going to favor always a little bit more, as it is not tempo paced. I would be surprised to see Byung-Soo or Dalda run away in terms of speed on this one for Liiv SANDBOX. It's much more about the combination setups right at the end, and that might be right up Team Always alley.
That certainly helps out the play style for Team Always, as Knight, he's just going to shield away the banana and make no risk happen there. And as we take a look at the inventory, Liiv SANDBOX, they already have 2 Angels in their arsenal, whereas Team Always, they have none. So Liiv SANDBOX off to a great start.
That's a great catch, Peter. Double Angel Shield this early on, and also having them on 2 separate players means you can continuously cycle out whatever that extra item is going to be here as we enter lap number 2. And as it's not so much about the tempo here, I gotta wonder what the plays are going to be. We see a number of players right now, Jimin and Knight, both holding on to the magnets here as we enter lap number 2. And once we get into lap number 3, there aren't really that many more opportunities to pick up new items. It has to be more about setting up for a big play. Is actually that water bomb connecting with 2 players on Liiv SANDBOX gets a lot of damage done. Byung-Soo right now, the lone racer, in really a commanding position for LSB. If Team Always can catch up to him, and I think they can, this is going to be some trouble.
Yeah, and right now we can see Hyun-Soo is going to have 1 Angel in the back along with Dalda. We see some magnets as well. Team Always holding on to a lot of them, and there's no EMP for a response. So I believe Magnet's going to be the key play here.
Yeah, and my eyes right now are on Jimin with a Angel Shield getting popped. He does have both the Magnet and the Nitrous in store, being in first place for a moment there, but Hyun-Soo actually able to pass him now. Finish line only 500 meters away. Hyun-Soo still in first place as Jimin actually with that Magnet and that Nitrous is in fact going to be the player to deliver the Wombo combo as LSB go up 2-0 here against Always on their map of choice. So for Team Always now, match point getting knocked out basically 2-0 here in sets.
Liiv SANDBOX is looking absolutely unstoppable today. Although this match wasn't as one-sided compared to the last one, but it still really did feel like it to me, because on a track like London Night, you rarely see a player cross into the finish line in first and have the second place be 3 seconds behind. But that's what happened here. And for London Night, that's huge.
Yeah, and it feels like Liiv SANDBOX is just kind of able to roll the punches in different ways. In track number 1, we were playing on a graveyard map, and they just kept the tempo right from the beginning. Dalda was, at times, when we had the mini-map picture-in-picture on screen, he was, in times, the only player you could see. That's how far ahead he was from everybody else. And then, when we go to London Night, we play an entirely different game. It's LSB instead setting up for the Wombo combo, and they did it to perfection. So now we're going to move to on another more difficult track. It's going to be Mind Magma Cavern. My goodness, what a tongue twister.
It certainly is.
Let's see if Liiv SANDBOX can close this one out with a 3-0.
And off we go into item round 3. We are back to our 3-star difficulty track, so I'm certainly excited to see some sirens come out, but my heart really goes out to Team Always right now. They need to win 3 rounds back-to-back to even have a chance to move to an ace match, and I feel like Team Always, they have the potential, but it's just not showing today.
Yeah, in terms of record thus far, LSB and Always were pretty much neck and neck in round differential when it comes to item mode, but LSB has just been playing out of their minds since losing that 1 track in speed. I think it really woke them up to the threat that is Always. And for LSB right now, yes, they are one of the most skilled teams in this league, but right now they're in the bottom half of the standings. This is a must-win situation for them, and they got to make up some ground as well in the differential, and it seems like they're taking this very seriously.
Yeah, you can see that in the minimap. Hyun-Soo is building up a nice lead. We've seen this happen in track number 1, and during that track, Team Always was unable to recover as we see the sirens being utilized to their maximum.
Yeah, I feel like this map, oh my goodness, Byung-Soo just pushing another racer off of the track, move the lead racer for ALS, even getting hit by another attack right there as they're trying to fight back, but the water was also coming through for LSB. They're identifying their win condition. Look at the minimap. You can only see Hyunsu right now, and then you can only see Dalda. 4.5 seconds on the final lap? You're kidding me.
Hyunsu was already on that third lap before anyone else, and the big banana is going to get dodged out, but
goodness.
Moo eats that missile and he's out of the race.
I feel like Mining Magma Cavern is probably the most difficult track to race on in item mode right now with the new meta. It's a 3-star difficulty, so you have those sirens, and also with the balloons that these racers have on them, they're nullifying the rockets, I should say.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to call this one. Hyunsu's just won it straight away. But they're nullifying the rockets, and they're using the banana instead. And you can see LSB time and time again on those laps. They're using the sirens and the rockets to spin out opposing racers for Team ALS at critical junctions in the map where they're actually just going to fall off the track into the magma. We even saw Byungsu, I believe, just completely knocking somebody off by pure power with a body check. So LSB just on another level right now compared to Team Always. Hyunsu with how many seconds is that? That's like an 8-second lead. I don't think we've ever seen a lead that big, at least in the regular season thus far in KDL and item mode, as LSB just playing out of their mind. They're going to take the 2-0 set win over Team Always in really a dominating fashion.
It was so dominating that we've seen 4 players retire, and that's not very common here. Even in item mode, in professional play, you don't see that happen often. And we can take a look at the faces of the players in Team Always. To be honest, I feel like they're not too shaken despite having such a dominant defeat today from Team Liiv SANDBOX. And I like that mentality. I feel like it's really needed here as a professional player.
Yeah, I mean, always, the writing was kind of on the wall coming into this one. They were winless in tracks and speed, not just in sets, but in tracks coming into this, and they were able to get their first speed win against Liiv SANDBOX, and really a better showing than they've been able to bring to the table in any of their other team matches. So there is that silver lining to the cloud for them, but Liiv SANDBOX absolutely came to play today. There's a reason why this team was perennially competing for that first place spot in the preseasons. And despite being relatively low in the standings right now after getting defeated by the Freaks and by Minori and Sejong, they're still a team to look out for as the season progresses. I mean, the skill that they showcased here, if they can continue to be amateur teams like this, at this level, at this pace, I wouldn't be surprised if they even came back and got a top 3, top 4 spot heading into the postseason.
That's what we would expect from a team like Liiv SANDBOX. Taking this win today is huge for their chances of moving into the postseason, whereas for Team Always now, they're going to be 1 wins and 3 losses total for matches. And it's going to be really hard to recover from that. If anything, the only good news for Team Always is that the 4 matches they played so far, 3 of them were against pro teams. So their future schedule is going to be a lot easier.
Yeah, for Team Always right now, I think you're going to have to go and basically watch the upcoming match right now, because NUTMITE is now the team ahead of you in your path getting to that wildcard spot. And NUTMITE later on, they're going to be playing against Seongnam Rocks, and that's a critical one for a lot of reasons, because we do have that wildcard expansion here in the postseason. For the regular season of KDL, it's a critical one to get that top 5.
That's certainly what needs to happen. Also for Seongnam Rocks, in fact, because I don't feel like Seongnam Rocks have the exact ideal road they wanted so far in, for the beginning of this regular split. So winning against NUTMITE would be huge for Seongnam Rocks, and also for NUTMITE, it would be really impressive to win against a professional team.
Yeah, and the fan votes coming into this one were pretty heavily in favor of Rocks, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
but
it was.
In my opinion, I think this is going to be a pretty close match. I would not be surprised if we went to an ace match between Team NUTMITE and Seongnam Rocks. I think a lot of people in the online community are possibly underestimating NUTMITE, because even though their record individually isn't that great thus far, they certainly seem to have a lot of potential.
Yeah, speaking of potential, if there's anything I remember, it is that NUTMITE usually always takes us to that round 5. It's been a theme to that team ever since the KRPL days, and now they're bringing it back here in the KDL. I don't think we've had so many round 5, matches that actually went all the way to that round 5 today, but we may see that in our next featured matchup.
Yeah, I think actually every single best of 5 in speed mode and in item mode was either a 3-0 or a 3-1, but I'm right there with you. Yeah. I fully expect this one to, at least in speed or item, in one of those sets to go to a best of 5, and the full length of that best of 5, that track number 5, and we might have an ace match too. As these teams, they have a lot to fight for, And guys, when we get back from this break, we're going to go into that match between Sungnam Rocks and Team NUTMITE. Don't go anywhere. We have you back in the soon. Back in a bit. Excuse me.
You sure deserve a medal. Keep pushing forward, never settle. Never settle. Keep it 100.